Custer's Last Stand.
What do you remember about the Battle of Little Bighorn?
Why is it so important to remember this event in history? Let's go down that road. Hello, faithful people. I'm Orlean.
I'm Gary.
And this is Roads of Faith. We recently stopped at the National Monument of Little Bighorn Battlefield in southeast Montana. It's just off of I-90. Did you know that the monument was originally called Custer Battlefield National Monument? And it was established in January 29th, 1879. I'm reading some notes. I don't want to miss anything. On December 10th, 1991, President George H.W. Bush renamed the site to the Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument to make it representative of those who were in the battle, Native Americans, and the 7th Cavalry. I thought we'd just share a little bit of information about what it was all about. It was between Sitting Bull and Custer. This was Custer's last stand, was here. The Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument memorializes a major battle fought on June 25, 1876, between Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho Indians against the United States Army. These tribes were fighting to preserve their traditional way of life as nomadic buffalo hunters. The U.S. Army was carrying out the Grant administration instructions to remove the Lakota, Sioux, and Cheyenne peoples to the Great Sioux Reservation in Dakota Territory. This brochure tells you that if you have 1 to 2 hours, they tell you that you should go to the museum exhibits in the Visitors Center, walk up to the Last Stand Hill and the Indian Memorial, the 20-minute orientation film, and browse the bookstore in the Visitors Center. If you have 2 to 4 hours, you can do some more things. There's a deep ravine trail. It's a quarter-mile self-guided walking trail. Or visit Custer National Cemetery. I think we will go see that anyway. And 4 hours or more, you do all of the above, and you can do an audio tour by purchasing a CD and do a self-guided tour.
When you go there, you get a chance to hear both sides of the story.
You will see white markers all over the grassy hillside where the 7th Cavalry soldiers died, and they marked their graves with those. You will also see red granite markers that were chosen by the tribes to show where there were Native American casualties. They don't know exactly the areas where the Indians fell, because the families of the tribes came and took the bodies back to their camp or whatever after the battle.
Unlike the Indians, who were able to gather their dead, the soldiers' families weren't able to be there. So sometime later, in 1881, 5 years after the battle, all the soldiers, scouts, and civilians' bodies were buried in a mass grave on that site. In 1877, officers' remains were taken to various cemeteries throughout the country. Custer was buried in West Point.
And there are some doubts about some of that. We heard from different historians, but that is what they're sticking with, is that he is at West Point. When you stand on the grassy hill and you're feeling that gentle breeze just kind of blowing across everything and across the plains, and you're looking out over this massive area, it's really hard to imagine that there was such a battle that happened there.
The park rangers have studied the historical accounts of both sides extensively. They tell the story of the battle in graphic and quite precise details.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost as if you were right there witnessing the action, and it does get to be a little intense for maybe younger children and some others too.
This was just a clip of Ranger Steve Adelson.
And firing, but then they threw their big guns onto the ground and they took out their little guns and they tried to kill us. But they shot wildly in the sky as their horses fucked and shot and pulled them all around. A desperate order, shoot your horse. Boom! A bullet in your horse's head. 39 dead horses found on the hill after the fight. You're not going home now. There's nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide, except behind a dead horse. Warriors get closer and closer. They ask Gall 10 years after the fight, how long can the battle last? He said about as long as it takes for a hungry man to eat his dinner. And then the shots. Boom, 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 boom! Boom! Quit coming. Warriors mount their horses and blast up the hill. They ride right into the crowd of paralyzed survivors and pounded them to death. Then they raced down to meet Reno and Benteen, who made a feeble effort to come to the sound of the firing, drove them back, pinned them down, trapped them under siege for the next 24 hours.
Ranger Adelson said he wants people to think. So when he tells the story, he wants them to really think about what is happening or what happened. He wants them to think about the history. He said people just keep making the same mistakes over and over. They don't seem to learn from history. I don't know if you caught it, but when he was talking about shooting the horses, he was referring to the cavalry horses, and they killed them so that they could use them for shields to protect them from the attack. We highly recommend that you start, unlike we did. We didn't start this way, and we really recommend that you do it because I think it would have made a difference for us too. Start with the 40-minute patio presentation, which was what Ranger Adelson was doing, and then or the 20-minute video inside the visitor center. And then you might want to go through the museum part of the visitor center and then go outside, and it'll just kind of more or less bring more things to life as you're out there. It's easier to imagine maybe what everything was like.
The Visitor Center shares information concerning the Indians' way of life and the soldiers' way of life. They also have some artifacts to look at, and I think you really need to spend a good number of hours there rather than rushing through everything.
Yeah. tools that the Indians were able to use of one buffalo. I mean, they used everything in so many different ways. It was just like, wow. So it's really a good thing to go through all that. And then to see how the cavalry lived when they were out on their campaigns.
What appeared to be a victory for the Indians, for the Native Americans, was only a very temporary thing.
Mm-hmm. The Indian Memorial was dedicated in 2003 and it was completed in 2013. It has quotes of many tribal leaders about the battle, as well as the names of those who fought there. Of today's tribal leaders. This quote is from Austin Two Moons, Northern Cheyenne Elder, on November 11th, 1993. And this is his quote. "We want peace on earth, and that's what I have strived for. I've prayed here every June 25th, every summer, for the future of our young. I don't want no war here again in the United States. I need your help to get your minds and hearts together. Pray together. Ask the Creator for peace throughout the country and throughout the world."
After the tour, we went to the Custer National Cemetery. It's a Veterans National Cemetery.
To learn more about the Battle of Little Bighorn, Custer's last stand, and what happened to the Indians after the battle, it's very interesting. We'll put a link in the description below. And I want to leave you with this. It's my own quote. History. We can ignore it because it's in the past. Or we can find out more about it and learn from it for the future. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Leave a comment below. Subscribe if you haven't yet by just clicking on that red button down below. And then next to it is a little bell. Ring the bell and you'll be notified every time new videos come up. Check out our Facebook page, Roads of Faith.